Hi guys, welcome to my first drawing tutorial. Hope you can draw along with me today and then use some of these skills to go away and have a go at one of your own drawings. Today we're going to be doing a simple line drawing and I'm using an image out of a colouring in book to start with. Colouring in books are really good at breaking down images into line and simplifying those shapes. And when you start to draw, identifying shapes and line is really important. It helps us to develop our drawing. We can add things like tone and texture as we move along and improve our drawing skills. So I'm going to start with this bird here. Now, a couple of things I'd like you to think about is one, how you're going to hold your pencil for this. When we write, we tend to hold the pencil up here nice and tight. But when we are drawing, we need to loosen the grip and move our pencil about halfway down. So we're just got a nice loose grip. We're using and utilizing our wrist and our whole extension of our arm when we're drawing. Okay, so sometimes when you start to draw, it actually pays to draw a little bit bigger so you can get that movement into it. If we're drawing really small and controlled, it can make it really difficult and it doesn't really allow you to free up your drawing style. So it's really good to have an image that's printed out or something that you can draw over the top of. We're going to do this bird here and I'm just going to start to identify those shapes I was talking about. So I can see here this oval shape here, and then I can see a larger oval to the back here, bottom, and this wing is like a longer, skinnier oval on the side here, and I can see this extra loop that comes around. Okay, so to me that's enough shapes to get us started. So what I would start by doing is trying to replicate this shape here onto here. Now I talked about going larger, so we are going to go a little bit bigger. So I'm just going to start with a circle like this. And you can see I've had a couple of goes because I want to make sure that that shape is pretty close to this shape. And it's not a skinny oval, it's almost a circle, but it just has a little bit more of an extension on it. So we're going to go roughly like this. Now when we're looking at perspective, because we don't want our head to be too big for our body or our body to be too big for our head, we need to measure somehow. So the way I'm going to do that is I can measure here with my fingers to the size of the shape of the circle here. So that's one here. Now if I measure from the top of my oval, the next shape, 1, 2, I can see that 2 of those would fit into that body. So I can use that as a guide here. I've got 1 here, and actually I need that. I think that line there sort of is where the next one's the oval starts. So we go 1, 2, and I'm going to put a dot here. So I know that my next oval needs to start here and finish here. So we're going to sketch that one in. I can see that it comes out a little bit further than this one here. So I'm going to come out a little bit further here. And I'm going to finish it up here. And it sort of comes around like this, keeping those lines really nice and loose. And you can see that I'm not worried about rubbing any of my lines out. I'm pressing nice and light. I can rub out and define things later on. This part is just about getting those sizes right and our shapes right. So the next thing we're looking at is this sausage shape here. Now where does this start? It doesn't start up as high as that. It doesn't come as low as the bottom of the circle here. So we need to go up about halfway in between these two. That's where our oval is at its peak. It also sits to the side of this one and it doesn't go to the bottom there, so we just put it in a little bit of a guide and we've got this sausage shape here. Looks very strange at the moment, but we're going to work with that. Okay, our last part was this loop down here. So I can see that this loop, there's what I call an intersection. So where two lines meet, an intersection about here, where this loop starts. And if we were imagining that the claw's not there for now, I think it would meet up about here. Again, we can measure our size. Do you think that's the same size as the oval? Almost. So it's just a little bit smaller than that. So I'm going to put in a guideline there. And I can then start to sketch in that loop shape. Okay. So we have a very strange bird here. Doesn't quite look like this bird, but we're going to work to define that and refine our drawing a little bit more now. Okay, so you'll see that I can gradually start to get in some of these lines that might be a bit different to our shape. So there's all these little curved connection lines here. And all I'm doing is meeting up those shapes that I've drawn in. I come down here, you can see this actually goes into some feathers, and then the oval goes in the opposite direction. The line goes in the opposite direction to that oval there. And that actually comes down here a little bit. And we're just gradually starting to work out how all these lines relate to each other. Again, you can see where these intersections are. Where does one line meet with another line? Okay. And his beak. So we're looking at the center point to start the beak. I would start with that, what I would call a sad mouth. Sad mouth here. And it's almost like a V. So I would start with the V and then round it off a little bit. And you can see when I'm happy with the line, I can go a little bit darker. So if I think that line's going to be there permanently, like this one here and across here, I can make them a little bit heavier. Get in the eyes, and they just look like water drops. And because I have this guideline here, it actually helps me to keep them in the right spot. Okay, that's like a little S shape there and a circle. Now I'm going to start to rub out a few lines just so I can start to see my image a little bit clearer. It's got a little bit messy over there. I want to make sure I'm on the right track. So before now I haven't even needed to get that rubber out, because some of those mistake lines can actually be handy to use as guides. Okay, starting to look a bit more like a bird. Right, I think I might now start to tackle this branch across here and the claws. So the way we're going to do that is really mark out where this branch would start. So I've got the branch starting at the base of this oval, and it comes out, doesn't go all the way here, then it has a bit of a small oval for the end of it to make it look a little bit more three-dimensional, and then comes out back across like so. Doesn't really matter where it goes to at this stage. Okay, so to get these feet in, the first thing is to work out where the intersections are for those feet. So we've got one here and one here. Okay, so we're going to just draw these lines down here like so. I'm going to move it up here a bit so we can see. So the next thing we need to do, and these claws can be a little bit tricky, but again, think about them in shapes, or what can you see? What could you think about to get this shape in here? If it was me, it almost looks like a strange letter C, like my name. So I can go up and down and just get that shape like that. Once I've got that, it's just a matter of a little curved line there, and then one coming up like that. Add the toenail, which is just like a triangle, come across, up again, and another little triangle. Okay, so that's one claw done. This one actually has a little bit of a claw coming in from the bottom as well, so we can go like so. Okay, and at that stage you can rub out that line where we had the branch coming through, and a couple of little expressive claw lines. Now for the other claw, we want it to be relatively the same size again, so we need to measure. I'm going to put it about here, and I'm going to measure that it's about one of my finger widths wide. Your fingers will probably be smaller, so it might even be 2 fingers, 1.5 fingers. Just make sure that they are the same. Now, all I've done is a half circle there, and I'm going to extend this line down, not quite to the end of here. Come across with another curved line and up, and then a little curved triangle for another claw. Then we come down again for the next one. This one comes all the way, extends all the way to the end of the branch and up. And I can rub out any parts of the tree or the bird that are there that shouldn't be there. Just go back and make that a bit clearer. Now in this picture here, you can actually see a little bit of that back claw as well coming in through the back there. Okay, and some more of those little expressive lines. All right, so he's definitely starting to look more like our bird. All I would do now is start to get in some detail. Now, this, like I said, is a colouring in book. I don't need to put all these lines in if I don't want. I could choose, now that I have the basic outline for a bird, to do something different with my bird, which I think I might do in my next lesson. Make sure you keep your bird image and send me a picture so I can see how you went with that. Thank you. Hi guys, and welcome back to the second part of our drawing project. This is still our line drawing, and if you followed the last tutorial, you can see that we pretty much completed our bird drawing. So what I'd like to do now is put our bird into a little bit of an environment. So to do that, we need to think about the composition of our picture. So what could we do that could make our picture look better? When we talk about composition, we're talking about where we place other items on the picture so that we make a picture that balances really well and that looks good. So I'm going to go back to the colouring in book that I used last time, and I'm going to try and find some flowers or something to put in the background of our bird. Could end up looking something like that. That actually looks like the same bird. I won't use that one. I think we might go for, and you can see there's heaps of different ideas, and cutting and pasting in the terms of picking a picture from one image and picking a picture from another image is a great way to learn how to create your own composition. Okay, so that's something we're going to look at today. So I'm going to look at these flowers here. there's a few different types, and again it's a line drawing. So a couple of things to start off with. Remember, we're still holding our pencil about halfway down the pencil so that we get nice loose strokes. I would look at this image and start to draw over the top and have a look at some of these shapes. This is like a half an oval there. The stem, the leaves here are like diamond shapes. If I had to break them down into shapes, they would be diamonds. The petals are a little bit tricky because they're actually organic shapes. And organic shapes are irregular shapes. They're not even, they're not predictable. So it's usually easier to start with some geometric shapes. So what I'm going to do is actually square off a few of these petals. So instead of going for the actual shape, I'm looking at a square type shape that petal would fit into. Over here I'm going to make that a diamond like I did with the leaf. This one here, another square, diamond here, squarish shape there. And you can see, even though I'm saying square here, these squares have got like a bit of an angled line, and this one comes out over here. So this just gives us a really good grounding to pop it onto our good picture. Now we need to think about the composition. So where could we put this flower that it's going to work well with the composition of our bird? So because this flower goes in this direction, I think it would work best on this side of the page, okay? Because we want us to look at the flower and then look across over at the bird. So to start doing that, I'm going to give myself a bit of a size guide. How big would I like my flower to be in relation to my bird? So I think about this big might be good. I want it to be quite large. So I've got my size. I'm going to start with this shape here, which I said was like a half oval. We can get that shape in straight away. From there, it's just a matter of looking at those intersections that I talked about last time. So this is my first intersection where the lines meet. So I'm going to put a dot there. That line goes up, excuse me, and across and down. It doesn't go all the way down. Then we can look over here at this triangle one. So where's that intersection? About here. And the triangle diamond shape goes up, comes across, and I'm just going out to my circle shape so I've got my size right. Comes across there, and the intersection's back here. And you can continue to do that. So I'm looking again, where's that intersection for this line here? And I'm putting it at about here. And then I will go across on an angle, across, down. I've got the diamond shape coming in here. Then another square type shape. And you can see that at this stage I'm still pressing quite lightly. Okay, I don't need anything too permanent yet, because my petals are not going to be this shape, are they? They're going to eventually take on a new form. As you can see, I have my flower sort of marked in there. Looks very geometric and strange at the moment, but I've got all my sizes right. I know exactly where each one of these petals has to go. I'm going to continue on with the small circle at the bottom here, and I'm just going to put a nice curved stem on there. So now I can, oh well, actually I will put in my diamonds as well for my large leaves. Okay, so now I can start to press a little harder and start to look at the actual shape of these petals. So if I go in, I'm staying inside the square that I've previously drawn, and I'm looking at the shape here. Okay, and then I'll come across here and round that off. Remember, we are making it our own picture, so if it's not exactly the same, it really does not matter. Nobody's going to be comparing. And another one. This petal I'm going to have coming around here. And you can see sometimes I go over my shapes a little bit. That's okay too, because we're just making them look a little bit more organic. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to rub out most of my guidelines so I can see my flower a little clearer, and you can get an idea of how that translates. Okay, so I'm just going to have to touch up a few bits here that I've rubbed out of my good lines. And there we are. That's our main petals. When we come down to the leaves, it's exactly the same thing. I'm just using my initial shape as a guide and getting those leaves in there. So you can see, I think that fits pretty well. The size is pretty good with the bird, and we have added a flower to it. I'm just quickly going to add another one of these, I think, so that we can fill up the page even more. So for this one, I'm going to bring that in about here. So again, I want this one to sit behind the bird, okay? Because we want it to look like it's part of the picture. Sometimes it's nice to have overlapping images rather than them all sitting side by side. So for this one, I'm going to start differently. I'm going to put where I want my center of my flower to be, which I think is going to be here. And I've already marked out this circle. So each of these lines, I'm going to start to bring out to the circle. Now you can see for now I'm going over the top of this branch. I will rub those bits out. Some of these are shorter towards the middle. They don't necessarily go all the way out, and these ones at the bottom here change direction, so my curve starts going this way instead of upwards. And I might just do the odd one that breaks out of the pattern as well. And then I'm just going to pop a little circle on the end of each of those. And I'm going to get my eraser, and I'm going to rub back out where my branch goes, because remember, I want this one to look like it's going behind my branch. Okay, just getting my branch back in clear, and I'm going to add a stem here for this one. Okay, you don't actually end up seeing very much of it, but that's okay. If I want to, I can add another one, or I might put another one of these flowers somewhere. Just to finish off, we're very quickly going to do these leaves. So these leaves look a bit tricky because they give the impression that they're folded. So the way I would start that is to get this nice curved line here. Then we go down like so, and up again. Okay, to make it look like it's folded over. It helps here too that they have those lines, so if you want to put those lines in so that it looks more like it's actually folding, that's fine too. And you can do another one on the other side. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to continue to work and put a few more flowers on this one, and then I would like to come back and we'll have another episode, another session on how to colour it. Okay, thank you. Hi guys, welcome back. So we're just going to continue on with our drawing here. Just a couple more steps that you might like to do. What I decided, I added another flower in here, and I decided that I had too much paper on here for a decent coloured drawing. So I found this lid in the cupboard and I just marked out the circle like so. And this is going to be my picture. I'm not going to worry about anything that I've cut it off here. In the end, I can actually cut that out if I like and put it onto another piece of paper. So I'm going to do this one in coloured pencils. Now, just a bit of a talk about coloured pencils. People always want to get the best brands in pencils. You don't have to. Of course, the better quality ones are nicer to work with. The ones I'm going to be working with today are Derwents, and that's just because I have them, not for any particular reason. Prismacolor are probably one of the most popular good brands around in coloured pencils at the moment, but you can even buy sets like this that are pretty cheap. You can get them at a lot of the $2 shops and they work just as well too. What I find is it's more really about people learning correct colouring in techniques. Now everyone thinks that they know how to use colour pencils because they've been colouring in with coloured pencils for forever, but you'd actually be surprised how a few little tips can help you get a much better result from your coloured pencil. So I'm going to start. You can see that I've just started here to have a little bit of a look at what colour blends I might like. So when we're looking at pencils, I want you to remember that you can blend pencils like you can paints. So it's all in your technique. So again, don't hold the pencil up here. If your pencil is straight up and down like this, you can see my colouring in is very liney. If you're using your pencil and holding it back on the page like so, you actually can develop a much softer technique, and I can actually see how I've gone from really light and I can gradually get darker. I can go over it and over it again until it gets darker and then light again. So you can get some really nice shading techniques with pencil. The other thing you can do is you actually can blend into another colour. So I've actually changed to a purple here, a darker purple than this one, and I'm just going to go in a slightly different direction and bring that down. And again, same technique. I don't need to have a super duper sharp edge on my pencil because I'm actually using the side of the pencil. So you can see here, we've been able to create a completely different colour and give that colour a little bit more depth by bringing in another colour. Just to show you a bit more on that, I'm going to bring in a little bit of a yellow so you can really see how that yellow can change that colour really subtly. Okay, so always have a little bit of a test area. Think about what colours you're going to draw, what colours you're going to colouring in with, and how your picture is going to work. So if I'm going to have purple over here, I might want to put a little bit of the purple into these flowers as well. And I'm only doing the bits that are inside there to balance that off. I'm going to go ahead and do mine, and I'll attach a video of me colouring this in from start to finish. If you want to look at that, you can. Feel free to use your own colours and imagination, and hopefully I can see some of the results. Thanks guys.